On the move. So, I want to talk about the difference between being connected and being talented. There's a there's a thing in Hollywood's over. Which, I was born in Hollywood. I was born in the Hollywood Hills. I grew up in Hollywood, and I grew up in Los Angeles in this industry. My dad was a filmmaker. I make film. I, was born in Laurel Canyon. I do not lament the death of Hollywood. I do not. I'm not going to cry you a river. This is not something this industry, it's profound, and it has given so many people so many advantages. And I think it's really important for creating a sense of standardization. Industry standards are important. They really are. In order to sort of teach and train new, skilled filmmakers. But its time has come. There's talent all over the world now. There's different ways of making film. The tools are different. And there are unique, independent voices that need to be heard. You can't stop passion. If you live in Ireland and you want to work on a reality television show, you can do that now because the markets have expanded. If you're a gifted cinematographer living in Prague, there's work for you now. You can't stop passion. And Hollywood can't contain film. There's too many markets, and it's monopolies are not healthy. It's not good for the art form to get clubby, Either you're in the club or you're out of the club. It's you gotta just open it up and let it shine. But things are dire here in Los Angeles because a lot of people have built their livelihoods around this industry. But hell, a lot of people built their livelihoods around working in hospitals in New York during COVID. And a lot of those people lost their jobs. Even though there was a huge need for health workers. The vaccine mandates alone chopped their workforce in half. So, these things happen, the turning of the soil. But I want to talk about connections. Because forming connections is key. Forming alliances is key. Forming these units of people where trust and dignity and respect can start to congeal, and you can start to, uh, some of the best independent filmmakers had crews of people that they used on every single film. I think David Lynch is one of those guys. I think he uses the same crew every film he does. I could be wrong, but I remember hearing something about that. Some filmmakers go through a different, entirely different crew every movie because they're just rageaholics, and they, I think James Cameron might be one of those guys. You hear stories about these guys that just like burn through people because they're big men children with massive insecurities, and they can't help but abuse their crew. They just can't help it. They haven't learned any other modes of communication. It's sad when that happens, especially in stop motion, because there aren't just this giant cadre of new people to dip into. There are when you start to kind of train kids out of school. But it's a skill that takes quite a bit of time to master. And it's like, cultivating a plant. It's like a bonsai. Animators just get more character the longer they do it. So alienating your crew just means that you're going to be more limited the next time you go out. Fortunately for some directors, they can just throw money at it, and then they get pretty much who they want, regardless of how they behave. But the time of that behavior has come to an end. It's just not tolerable anymore. And it's time for us to start cooperating in groups where we all work for a common cause with love and respect toward one another. This idea of pedigree and nepotism and entitlement, and it's part of an old system that's dying. It's the high end, above the line, are you in the club, vetted, it's essentially like who's got a better rep, who's got a better manager, who's got a better lawyer, who's more connected. That only gets you so far. And it gets you really, really far. You can go through a whole career doing very commercial movies where you convince giant boardrooms of investors to give you money, shit tons of money, to make the kinds of movies that complement the profit sharing of some elite, millionaire class. But you can't stop the passion, and you can't stop the grit, and you can't stop the revolutionary ideas that are always going to keep bubbling up. You just can't stop them. And the best films are made by ruthlessly passionate artists, individuals who have something to say and an inventive way of saying it. And that's going to keep coming. And now that the tools are cheaper and easier to use, and people can work in smaller groups, and the avenues of distribution are right at your fingertips, you don't have to have a meeting with anyone. You just have to manage your time. Manage your time. And that is a skill that we're not taught. You know, learn how to say no. When somebody, you know, is going to dangle a carrot in front of you and offer you something in exchange for nothing, you know, what do I get out of it? Some loyalty? No, not really. Because we're just asking you because you're available right now, and we're just asking out of convenience. Oh, so you don't really care that it's me. It's just that I'm available. Okay, well, all right. Well, then, what else are you offering me? Well, we can't afford to pay you, but if we get this client, you know, oh man, there's going to be so much work in town for people like you. People like me. Okay, so I'm going to give you my blood, sweat, and tears so that people like me can benefit down the line. Okay, I get it. So in other words, you want me to work for free on your shit. You want me to invest time and energy on your shit. And that's a skill. I think there's a lot of people that have the ability to sort of talk other people into that. You know, everybody wants to make their own shit. One of the guys I love in this industry is Max Winston. Max Winston is just like... he was born with the genetic profile of total indie. He does not waste his time or energy explaining independence to people like I'm doing right now. He just does it. You know? If he has a little extra cash, he rents a little studio somewhere and he shoots his shit. And he's really good at networking and marketing and presenting his stuff. His stuff is so unique and so undeniably badass and quality. And he does things that no one else can do because it doesn't occur to other people to do. You know? He sees the world through the lens of a complete artist, whether it's music, animation, drawing, fucking tattoos, whatever. He is in the driver's seat of his own artistic nature, and he knows how to feather or fucking slam the pedal, whatever need be for the moment. In a perfect industry, guys like that would rise to the very top, right? And they would be in charge of big giant shows. They would be hiring. They would be, because he's already proven himself. He's top tier innovator. his inventiveness wins. When you sit him down at a poker table with other, flabby, flaccid, doughy, pale, empty shells of humans, he blows doors, right? So why isn't he directing the next big Amazon animated series, or the next big Netflix animated series, or the big, why isn't he directing a movie for a giant studio, say Sony or whatever? What's wrong? Well, maybe he's not playing the game. The game that I think is starting to finally implode upon itself. It's an empty game. It's an empty game. And it has nothing to do with street cred or the respect of your peers, but it has everything to do with what, if you're in the club or not. Are you in the club? But as the club gets less popular to actually be in, and as the membership dues keeps going up and up and up, the club gets smaller because more people start to kind of get removed from the club because their connections are corrupt connections. Then what happens to Hollywood? What happens to this massive industry? I'm calling it Hollywood, but it's worldwide. It detoxifies. It purifies itself. One corrupt asshole after another. And then what are you left with when it's totally pure? You're left with the love, the passion, the will, the grit, the fortitude, the talent. You're left with the talent. Connections versus talent. Are you talented or are you connected? I mean, there's nothing wrong with connections. I think talented people need to make connections. And we're connecting. And to make a film, you have to have a connected crew that are all connecting, communicating, interfacing, exchanging, respecting one another's boundaries and space and working styles. It's a give and take. It's a share. It's a give freely and accept. It's not a take, it's an accept. Or a deny. I'm going to deny what you're offering right now. Thank you very much, but I humbly pass. Well, okay. I've got more to give, so if you need more, here I am. Courtesy. It's fucking courtesy. But I guess the distinction I'm trying to draw is because when you're swimming around in a corrupt industry and there's players that become gatekeepers because the club is so exclusive. And what's the cost of entry into the club? What do I have to compromise in order to gain favor? What do you have to hold over my head in order to let me into the club? You know, you've got your doorman, your bouncer, who's not letting guys like me into the club. And that's okay. That's okay, because I don't want to come into your. I don't know if you notice. I don't even really want to be in your club, because I don't respect your club. Because I've seen enough people that are in your club, and I've seen the way they behave. And if that's what you got to do to earn membership, then the half-life of your club, there's going to be a half-life. Because toxic, corrupt people start eating each other. When they run out of innocent people to chew up and spit out, they start eating each other. And that's what happens. That's what happens to a corrupt system. And we're seeing it happen. And it's a relief. I'm relieved it's happening. Because there's a lot of dirt. There's a lot of grime. There's a lot of destruction. There's a lot of innocent people that got broken under the weight of this industry. In many respects, it's an industry that was built by and for broken people. And that cycle of abuse, it needs to end. We need to break the chain. Making art, making film, making animation does not have to be an exercise in stabbing people in the back, climbing a ladder, and taking a shit on the people below you. It does not have to be an exercise in abusing your power. It just doesn't. And the people that work in this industry know that. They're aware of that. And they don't need a union to have dignity. They don't need a big group of Teamsters standing behind them to be able to stand up to it and say, no, thank you very much. No, I've had enough. You can pay me double what you're paying me now, and it's not enough to take abuse from you. Either you treat me with respect, or you can find somebody else to do this job. I had to do that recently. semi-recently. I was working with this woman, and I was actually working in her garage. And it was for not that much money. And I came into work one morning, and she flipped out on me and screamed at me. And I said, "You know what? No, I'm sorry. I'm not here to be yelled at. That's not how I roll. I thank you very much, but you can keep this job. I'm done here." And she, to her credit, she went upstairs, got her checkbook, and wrote me my final check, and bid me farewell. And I was glad I didn't have to, fight tooth and nail to get paid for the hours that I had done earlier that week. I think she recognized. She was a parent. She was actually a really cool lady. I really like this person. But there's a professional decorum that right now, I'm fucking 53. I demand it, and if I don't get it, I walk away. I quietly demand it. I don't get in people's face. And I let a lot roll off my back. It's gotta be pretty intense. But I know where my threshold is, and I know when somebody's crossed it, and I know what I can handle and what I can't. If I start to get into a situation where I'm just, quietly being abused, or swallowing it, or repressing my resentment and rage, it gets so fucking ugly with me. Because I uncork. I go dark, homie. You don't want to you don't want to see the darkness. Because I can lash back. And that's not who I am. That's not how I want to roll in this world. I choose to be the light. I choose to be open. I choose to have warmth and affection and love in my heart. That's what I choose. That's the path I chose. For myself, I had to. Because the alternative is not good for me or for the world at large. It's not good. I could be a vampire. I could be a weasel. I could do things in the dark of night that are not good. I know that. I know that potential. My lineage, my family line comes from that. We know how to survive. I'm not here because I come from a long line of goodly fellows. I'm standing here right now because I have vigilant, conniving, diabolical heritage. Men that did some gnarly shit to survive and pass their seed along. And that wanted to live in a world that wanted to kill them. Literally kill them, not figuratively or symbolically or, by covert means, slowly poison them to death like they do in this country. No, they wanted to mow them fucking down. But that world's dying. And it's going to take a lot of imagination to fill that dark, empty hole of death with something light and new. New energy has to come in and replace the old energy. Or else we're just walking around wounded. We're walking around, and who wins? If you walk around the victim all day, who wins? The person who hurt you wins. They win. You know why? Because they beat you down into a docile, compliant, fragile, wounded victim. And I'm sorry, I'm not letting the abusers win. I'm just not. I'm going to hold my head high with dignity. And I'm going to invent myself. I create joy in me. That's what I do all day long. That's what I'm doing with this podcast. I'm bringing myself joy. I'm expressing myself out loud. I'm working through my issues. I'm overcoming abuse. That's what I'm doing. And I encourage everyone to do the same. Because we could roll out of this period of time just as victims. The next chapter could just be defined by bitter victimhood. This happened, then this happened, then that happened. So be it. Tra-la-la. Just throw your hands up in the air. They win. They fucking win. They win when you're this meek, beaten, bitter has-been. They win. And that's no fun. That's no fun. That's no fun. Sometimes you need somebody to put their hand on your back and just say, you matter. You are valuable. And I love you. And I believe in you. If that meanie was mean to you, fuck him. Fuck him. He's got to fucking live with himself all day long. Do you think that's fun? No. But I believe in you. And you are strong. You know how to stand up. You know how to dust yourself off. And you know how to get back on the horse, baby. and you know how to ride.